evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Fallout Bar once again here at Online Darts. It is night 6. Ignore the graphic to start with. We're playing the boys in Blackpool, but they've had a busy one because the two matches tonight, Cam, have just been action-packed.
It's been a brilliant night at ours, hasn't it? Like, both games were just a brilliant watch. You just never knew which way it was going to go. Even when you thought you did, you were wrong. It was just utterly ridiculous.
One of the best sessions the Winter Gardens has ever seen?
It's got to be right up there. It's certainly the best one we've had so far this year, and I'm struggling to think of many better.
Indeed. Hello to everybody in the chat room. Great to have you along. Daniel's in, Tossie's in, Colin is in, Jonathan's in. First time I've seen your name this week, Jonathan. Good to have you. Rose is back as well. She has an intense night. Gave me a headache, but great night nonetheless. Indeed. That's my new phrase now. That feels a bit barsy, but indeed is my thinking phrase, because this is what happens when you're running live shows. At Jack22's in, he says class tonight. Colin says evening Godfather, evening Cam McFarlane. One day, mate, you'll spell my name correctly. But close enough. Good to have you, buddy. Malik is in as well.
He's not wrong.
A superb night of the top half of the draw, quarterfinals in Blackpool, and a superb night in, I'm going to say Indeed again now. Now I'm really conscious about the fact that I use Indeed a lot. What a night this is going to be.
Yep. You're going to turn into me and start trying to avoid the word absolutely.
That's still in your Twitter name.
I only noticed that the other day.
Absolutely mad. Absolutely. Yeah, brilliant. I'm not self-conscious about the show at all now. Thanks a lot. Superb night of actions in which we saw both matches go the maximum number of legs possible without a tiebreaker, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. I had a look at it before and was considering a handicap either way in a couple of the games. I just thought over the format, someone tends to run away with it a little bit over that sort of extended 60, first to 16, but not tonight. And even when they looked like they were getting away, they got reeled back in.
Does that speak about the character of these guys? Because, like you said, people do tend to run away over this format, and it looked like that was happening at times tonight for 3 of the 4 players that had extended periods of runs in the front. The only player that really trailed throughout and had to fight his way to stay in the match constantly was Nathan Aspinall, and even then he just would not lie down at all.
No, and I think we know it about Nathan. He's not one that's ever going to sort of chuck the towel in and never thinks he's beaten, even when others might do. But yeah, everyone else did look like, well, they all had periods where they were running away with it a bit and got reeled back in. And it just showed you the quality of the lot of them. And like you say, just none of them were giving up.
Indeed. There we go. Right, first match then. Let's talk about Dimitri Vandenberg against Peter Wright, the apprentice versus the master. I saw a couple of comments going, surely you can't call Dimmy the apprentice when he's won this tournament before. The apprentice doesn't relate to that. It relates to the fact that Dimitri spent time with Peter Wright during lockdown when he could not leave the UK. The Wrights took him in as a house guest, and there was a lot of Peter Wright had just gone berserk, world number 1, and world champion, and what have you. At the time, wasn't world number 1, it was just world champion, sorry. And they spent an awful lot of time practicing together, and there was a lot built about that relationship and the tips that Peter Wright had passed on to Dimitri. It does not relate to their standing in the game or their ability.
He's well past the apprentice if you're looking at it that way. But yeah, the whole thing relates to, it's just that extra little bit. Like, they played against each other so much over that time that they both must know what they kind of. Well, I assume this is why it was such a good back and forth game where they both kept getting on runs. Is the fact that even when they got ahead, they both know what the other one can do so well that they probably no one took it for granted and thought they were off and running away with it, because you know what's going to come back at you.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of respect between these two, or before the game, pre-game, and during the game. That's definitely the way it looked. There was no attempting of changing the pace between either player. Look, Peter Wright tinkered with his darts as he does, which completely backfired on him as well, by the way. chopping and changing all the time. And every
Well,
time,
you say that. It did after the first break, I thought, when he was 4-1 up. When he played worse with the darts he's been using all week. But
when he picked up the second time,
when he picked them up second time, he went up to another level again. So yeah, it hurt him at one section, but then it also gave him a boost at another section. And I think for him, he's clearly just about focus and the fact that he
and it
just
was
once
he's
he gets
constantly striving for perfection. He wants everything perfect. And if his opponent's coming back at him, like Dimitri was, it's difficult for Peter to comprehend sometimes that it might just be his opponent. It's not the
well, yeah,
equipment.
I mean at that point, Dimmy was averaging about 107 or something at the point where he pulled it back from 4-1. So it felt like Peter fell off a little bit, but it felt like he fell off a little bit with when he changed the darts the first time. But realistically, he probably didn't. He maybe didn't score as heavily in patches in terms of the 180s he was hitting in the first 5-6 legs, but he still scored consistently and he still pretty much maintained his average.
Yeah, finish of a 99.4 for Peter Wright, 102 for Dimitri Vandenberg, 11 maximums from the Dream Maker. No ton plus checkouts from Dimitri, though. He did get close a couple of times. There was a ball for a 164, I think there was at one point, that looked like it was going to go. Peter Wright, superb, though, 40% on the checkouts.
Other than that, though, I can't think of another ton plus effort that Dimitri had because he scored that heavily. He was below 100 after 9 every time it felt.
Yeah, I mean, look, 27 tons, 25 140s to Peter Wright's 21, and those 11 maximums. Peter Wright threw 43 visits of ton plus, and a further 21 140s, 8 maximums. That's a ridiculous performance scoring power, and sometimes you just have to hold your hand up and go, do you know what? Fair play, you had me tonight.
Yeah. I think neither could have been upset at getting beat or at the other one winning just because they both played really well. It was a fantastic game. Like you say, there was no messing about. Dimitri Vandenberg is a 10 times better player when he just gets up there and throws them quickly. Million miles better. I know he likes to do all his breathing and he's taking his time and this silly thing that he clearly believes works. And I don't think I think a lot of it is that he believes it works because it's like when he does it in the break, like he hit that when he leveled up at 5 apiece and he stood there for a while then doing his breathing thing and doing this. He genuinely believes that works, I think. He
did this in his second round game, though, and he was doing that. And then he was like, yeah. And I'm like, that negates the effect of what you've just done. Like, I'm not convinced that the stage persona we see from Dimitri Vandenberg is because Dimitri believes in it. I think it's because Dimitri's told himself that that's what he needs to do to win, and that's what he should be doing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I think he fully believes that that's working.
He believes in it, but at the same time, he just does it he thinks that's how everyone else thinks he should be doing it.
Yeah, and we all know he should just be getting up there and just throwing as quick as he can because the quicker he got, the better he got tonight. And when he was just up there and just popping them in, there was only one moment where I thought he got slightly too quick, which was I think when he missed the 128 and he rushed the dart at double 10 and dragged it inside. But other than that, yeah, he doesn't need to bother about composing himself. Just get up there and play naturally because naturally he is one of the best out there right now.
That goes back to the respect bit I was trying to make right at the start in that anybody else at that level, I think we'd have seen Dimitri try and alter his pace at some point tonight. But there was none of that. He just got up there, got on with it, and they tried to beat each other by being the better dart player. And look, you've just said it there. Dimitri is so much of a better player for that. Yes, look, he can knock other players out of their stride as well. But when you can perform like that, pretty much every time you set foot up on stage at a decent pace, I genuinely don't understand this constant need to slow your opponent down and play those mind games, if you like, and try and wear him down. Just go up there and beat him at darts because you're clearly capable of it.
Yeah, well, that's it. There's not many people out there right now that if he plays his best and they play the best, are going to beat him. I genuinely, there's not many I would fancy. Maybe MVG in the mold we saw him play tonight. But again, he looked beatable. Actually, no, I don't think MVG would have beaten him tonight, even when he was running away with it earlier on. I think he's possibly beats everyone right now if he plays in that manner and just focuses on playing and get darts himself and not faffing about.
I think you might be right. We'll come to our predictions shortly. We will have clips from hopefully both winners. However, I do not have the Dimitri one as yet because Phil is currently interviewing Michael van Gerwen in Blackpool. So hopefully I will have both of those. But obviously, because there is just two games to talk about this evening, we are going to move on to the second quarter final of the night. If we get the clips, I will fire them in to this. We'll circle back to them. And if not, they will be available in full on our YouTube channel as per usual. Reminder that once we do finish as well, the live league is underway on this channel as well. We're currently running 2 live streams at once. Champion of Champions Week, Josh Payne and Robert Owen, 2 of the key names in action this evening. Ahead of that, if you cannot wait to get your further fix of darts this evening, if you don't already do so, follow us on social media as a reminder. On to the second match then, and it is that match we've just watched where Nathan Aspinall just refused to give in the entire way. Clearly was having issues up on that stage at times, but Michael van Gerwen sealing the deal with a fantastic 1-4-6 checkout to wrap up a match that, look, could have got over the line a lot earlier, but it was a fantastic watch either way.
Yeah, it was. And I just think the fight from Nathan, where he looked dead and buried at 11-4, the game was done. We were thinking this is 5 more legs and he's off at 16-4 and we're in for an early night. But he just refused to give in and just refused to get beaten. And to be fair, he could have levelled up if he missed the 2 darts at the 52 on double 6. If that goes, we could have been level at 14 apiece, and I think Nathan wins it.
Is that bad board management for leaving double 6 instead of hitting that big 20?
It's just no, I don't think it is. I think you're better off being closer to the tops than the treble 20 and giving yourself no darts at a double. I think it's just flown a little bit on him. I don't think it was bad board management at all. I'd much rather go in tops and still be on a double than hit 60 and be picking you dart out the board and just waiting for your opponent. So I don't think it was bad board management. I just think it just didn't come out quite right. And then he's clearly got issues at the moment in terms of gripping the dart. But I would say I was very concerned about it. But 90% of the time that he does it, he puts it right in the middle of the treble 20 after he's done his regrip. So yeah, okay, it's a bit faffy and it doesn't look great, but it's not throwing him off, and it's not really stopping him from playing well, I don't think.
I don't think it's stopping him from hitting that initial target, right? We saw it often enough where he regripped and fired it into the treble over and over again, etc. But I do think there is a concern that Nathan Aspinall is very much a rhythm and a flow player. Like, he's not the fastest player in the world, but he will get into that rat-a-tat game with Van Gerwen. And I just think that, look, as good as the game was, if Nathan Aspinall wasn't constantly having to step back, readjust his grip in his hand, we could have seen an even better match. And that's very greedy. That's a very greedy point. You want to point out?
I get that.
Even better.
But I do get that. And there's obviously a concern, though, that he doesn't feel he's gripping it right. And
we haven't really seen that in this length for the rest of the week, though. So something must have changed this evening. It was certainly cooler up there. And whether this is a result of the wrist injury that we've known from Nathan Aspinall, or if it was just never settled, never got comfortable up on that stage and was looking for the perfect dart in his hand over and over again because he knew just how big this match was against Michael. Different matter, but it just wasn't right, was it?
Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't right. And there's something not right. A big part of it for me, I think he's getting to the hockey too quick, because that first regrip, it's almost like he's not concentrating on grabbing the dart for the first dart, because it's always when his opponent's level with him walking back, and there was a lot of times where he glanced across. I don't know whether it was either just them being in his eye line just because he was at the hockey too quick, or whether there was something in the crowd to that side at that point, or I'm not sure, but I just saw him do it a lot of times where he'd regrip and then go to set himself again, and you see the other player walking back and he's just had a little glance over there. I don't know whether there's just something's catching his eye, and if he's not fully concentrating on gripping it, he's just not getting hold of it properly. But I don't know whether that's what it is, and maybe he just needs to take another second before he walks up there, and it might just be a little bit smoother. That's the only thing I kind of noticed that I could have thought, other than just it being a hangover from the wrist injury, that I thought it could have been.
It's one of those things that it's easy to observe from far away, but actually until we hear from Nathan exactly what the issue was, it's a little bit difficult to analyse it and break down any further than what we've just done. Someone whose action looks absolutely fine right now, considering he is still technically in recovery from carpal tunnel surgery, is Michael van Gerwen. The Green Machine over the 100 mark once again up on that Blackpool stage. He looked in great form this evening.
Absolutely incredible. 12 180s, that is the biggest thing for me. I have not seen him in the last 3-4 years look that good on the treble 20 at any point.
Even at his peak, I don't remember him that big on the treble 20s, on the 180s.
No, but he
started messing around and switching around the board. He's just decided that actually, I'm going to go back to basics and I'm going to stay there.
Well, I think it's not even that. The way they're going in the board now is allowing him not to stay there and not to have to switch, because they're not going in like this or like that and like all over the place where he might clatter into it and it bounce out, or he might knock one out because they're not in properly. They're all going in perfectly and he can just follow them. And I just think he looks as good as I've seen him look for a long time. And we've seen him look good in patches, but not that consistently scoring that well on the 20s.
Yeah, with his success, and he didn't get over the line tonight, but the showing of Peter Wright, the fact we're going to talk about Gerwen Price in a minute as well, and those top three, Michael Smith possibly not being still in contention at the minute, and we've lost Luke Humphries as well. There's still an argument that the big game players, those boys that have been there and done it before, just know how to flick a switch and turn it on, because with all due respect to those three, the three of the top four in the world and at the minute, they've been nowhere for months. MVG switched it on for the Premier League, granted, and a couple of very good nights throughout that, but there were a couple of nights when he was terrible, and on the final night he looked brilliant. And we've not really seen an awful lot from Gezi or Peter Wright, unless Peter at the last block of Pro Tours maybe, and what have you. But the fact they can just rock up here in absolutely no form, we're looking at, look how open this match play is, look how brilliant the rest of the field is at the minute, and there's a real chance we're going to get a new name on the trophy, or we're going to see surprise quarterfinals and semi-finals, and yet here all three of them are, 3 of the 8 in the quarterfinal stage, 1 through, 1 not perhaps, but Gezi's got a fantastic chance tomorrow as well, and it's just the mentality of these guys that have been there and done it at the top level is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's just, as much as anything, it's got to just be that belief, and that they just know they've got it when they need it. And the ones just below that level possibly don't have that level of confidence. That they've not been there and done it enough times. They've not been there and been through it. But like I say, it's about peaking at the right time as well. It's like, obviously we know you need to perform throughout the year on the Pro Tours and everything else. But at the end of the day, they don't matter really. The ones that matter are these ones, and it's about using those essentially as a practice event to get yourself ready for this and to make sure you're peaking for the big events. And that's what they all seem to be just better at doing than anyone else right now. And like, you look at it coming into it, you look, I guess he's still coming off his hand injury. You still don't know whether he's fully fit or whether it's absolutely perfect yet. Michael's just had his surgery, but I mean, just look at it. When it matters, they're ready and they're ready to go.
Yes, they are. Right, I do have a slightly longer than usual clip from Dimitri Vandenberg. We've been playing about 30 seconds to a minute throughout the week so far, but this is just over 2 minute snippet of Dimitri from his post-match press conference. Hopefully we might have Michael by the end of it, but I'm not sure we will. So we'll look ahead to tomorrow and then we'll throw back to Michael if and when available. I'll get some thumbs up in the background, but don't promise unless you're going to deliver, Phil. You've got 2 minutes. 2 minutes. and we might have Michael straight after.
We can waffle for long enough.
I don't know what's going into his mind. Yeah, it surprised me. I know one thing for sure. Before we got here, before I even started the day yesterday, I was like, me and Peter. This is going to be me and business. I've got to do business. I've got to be doing my job. Didn't matter what sort of a player is in front of me. Peter Wright, Vandenberg, blah, blah, blah. It's very simple. Me and doing your business. I managed to do it. Mr. Miyagi, Peter Wright, was in front of me today. I passed him. I managed to do it. I've got no idea what's going into his mind. I really hope that before this tournament is in it, I'll get a message from him. I love that guy to bits. I've learned a lot, but yeah, I've got one day. Get ready. After today, I know who I'm playing. I'm going to get ready for the next game after the tournament. We'll see. But right now, back to business. I still get that chance to go back to business. That's incredible. 3 semi-finals in a row at the Matchplay after my debut. Come on. No, I don't. The only message I can say is, Pete, Mr. Miyagi, whatever happened today, I'm so proud of this. It was hard work. I've done it. I hope you don't hate me, sir. I still love you. I've got a whole lot of respect to you. But winning this game, especially my reaction, shows how much of a respect I've got to you, sir. And now I just want to continue whatever I've just done, and I want to do better. Not only whatever I've done today, I want to do even better in the next game. Mr. Miyagi, if you got any lessons, any tips, whatever works for me, I'll take him on. I'll see you next time on the stage.
No, it's like a bad episode of EastEnders, this, isn't it? No, I still love that.
Yeah.
Some interesting Dimmy though. I don't really know how to dissect that a little bit.
No, it was a little bit frosty at the end, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah. The constant references to Mr. Miyagi, yeah, I know Peter did that himself, but then it seems like you're mocking it a little bit, which probably isn't helping the relationship.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. But
we know how touch and go Peter Wright can be in interview as well. If he's watching that back at any point, the mood he's in could make a massive storyline either way for the rest of the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
How he interprets that from Dimmy could be very interesting.
I guarantee you he will hear it.
Yeah, they'll be all right. They'll be fine. Marco Van Gerwen is available, not quite as long this time, but we do have the Green Machine in his post-match press conference as well. And then Chatroom, it's your turn to get involved in a moment to start having a think about how you think tomorrow's quarterfinals are going to go. This is Marco Van Gerwen.
Of course I'm ready for that. He's a more cool player, and he does his Reiki stuff, and he's all in the zone, and you know what I mean. So I need to get myself prepared for that. But outside that, he's a phenomenal player, and I need to make myself and prepare myself for the worst, because he doesn't beat Peter Wright for nothing, so he can play that. So I need to make sure I keep my focus going. For me, it looks close to dermatitis, and that's a bit bad, to be fair. But mostly has to do with the injury, I think. But still, he played quite well, even with his stops. He had the 164 and the 90 finish. Do you know what I mean? It didn't disturb him too much, unfortunately.
Nice moment.
For me, it looked a bit like that. I think it has to do with his injury, but for me, sometimes with his stops and everything, it looks a little bit like dermatitis, and I don't really hope he's going through that way, because I don't wish that anyone. But still, they went in. Do you know what I mean? He never missed, and even with his stops, he managed with the 164 finish, the 90 finish. I thought, stop it, please, will you?
Stop it, please, will you?
A couple of things to take on board from that. First of all, it clearly looks like Michael is as big a fan of as I am for Dimitri.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy it at all. And it sounds like Michael Van Gerwen is preparing himself and expecting plenty of that in their semi-final clash. Secondly, he speaks about Nathan Aspinall's action. I'm not sure as a player I'd be drawn into talking about other players' actions. It's not something I'd be comfortable with, especially when you start using the word dartitis and chucking it around, because it may not be, but it's so easy for it to suddenly become that. If everybody's telling you you've got dartitis as a mental condition, do you know how difficult it is to then start releasing your darts properly?
Yeah.
Once you've got it in your mind that you've got it, it's incredibly difficult to start releasing the darts again and get back to normality. So look, whilst the observations may well be there, when we've spoken about Bo Greaves in the past, well, I've been very, very cautious to not say this unless a player comes out and says, look, I'm really struggling with this and this. Kirk Shepherd is an example. That's why he's given up his tour card. He's really struggling with his action and letting go of the dart. So that's why he's not playing on tour this year. And when you've got players that aren't quite there, it's been floated around about Christoph Ratajski throughout the year. Now Nathan Aspinall with the regrips. Look, it's the first time we've seen it that severe tonight. If we continue to see it, that's where the concerns will grow. But right now, you just have to think that maybe it's a situation, the return from injury, the length of the match and the significance of the match, and that there was just something off with him to start with.
Yeah, I think so. And I think unless, like you say, unless we keep seeing it repeatedly and we see it, like, 'cause we saw it a couple of times the other night, but it was only ever on the first dart. It was never on anything else. We saw it a little bit more in this, but I know it looks a little bit that way, but for me, it just seemed more. I just saw it as more. He was slightly distracted and therefore wasn't getting hold of the darts properly, and that's what I sort of took from it, from what I saw, and hopefully that's all it was, and it is just more of a focus thing and getting used to taking, because it might be that he's now having to transfer the dart and grip the dart differently than he used to do anyway, and that just takes time to learn the muscle memory and do it. One terrible bit of continuity here, but there's one thing I meant to say after Dimmy's interview as well. Early on in that interview, because we got too distracted by him keep saying Mr. Miyagi and nothing else. He said early on that he just got up there and I just had to just get up there and focus and play my game. I hope that's just clicked in his head and that he now knows that that's what he needs to do. But we'll see when he plays Michael. I don't think we'll see it.
I don't think Dimmy will be at the same pace as Nathan and allowing the game to flow as much.
No,
we shall see when those two do battle on Saturday night. However, we now have to look ahead to Friday night, and once again, a gone 8 p.m. start. The later session times for this year's match play are terrible.
Why? Do we have any reasons to why? Because it's late enough for us, and we're not talking about the European market, who are another sort of hour ahead in Central Europe. I just don't understand it whatsoever. I think it's just ridiculous. We all know that dart starts at 7 o'clock. Like, it always starts at 7 o'clock. The Premier League starts at 7 o'clock. Evening sessions always start at 7 o'clock. And yes, okay, there's only 2 matches, but they've both just gone the full distance. And when they do that, it makes for a late night. And this was in a night. Imagine if Dimmy had played at his normal pace. We wouldn't have started yet.
And if we got extra legs in both.
Yeah, but we wouldn't have started yet if he played at his normal pace.
We just had deep runs every night. Look, we didn't start till 1:45 to midnight the other night, and there wasn't really anything that went super deep. They just went averagely deep. But that extra half an hour makes a massive difference. And I'm not sure that viewership in the British summer is making a great deal of difference.
Well, it's not.
I might be completely wrong. I don't get to see Sky's numbers, but it's just I don't get it. I don't know why.
You seem to be starting later as well, though. Like, even like it always used to be 10 past 8. You have 10 minutes to build up once it comes on, but it's at least 1/4 past, if not 20 past, every day before it's starting now as well. Like, it's just getting later and later, and I just think they've just got it massively wrong. Like,
especially
I guarantee. Well, I know for a fact because I was just texting one of my mates then, and he said, how did that end up at 16:14? Because he turned it off when it was 11:04 because it was late, and he went and got in bed. And he's a big darts fan, but he just had enough at that point and decided it looks like it's done, so I've turned it off and gone to bed. And he's missed what was very close to being an incredible comeback to actually win the game from Nathan Aspinall.
Yeah, if it was a move to try and make the venue a little bit cooler, wait for temperatures to start dropping in this heat, then I could understand it. But it doesn't feel like that's what the move has been made for, because it's a move dictated by the broadcaster, not by the PDC. And at that point,
and they didn't start late, but they didn't start later on the days when it was hotter. So it's not been particularly warm today.
no. And at that point, you have to be concerned, because this is something we didn't really talk about in depth in that second game, because it was a factor towards the end. You starting later, it means the crowd have had longer elsewhere to get themselves boozed up.
Yeah.
Because frankly, tonight they were a disgrace. And once the Blackpool crowd has fallen, we've started to get towards this point for the last couple of years. But tonight symbolised the falling of the empire for me. It's over. Blackpool used to be the mecca of darts, if you like. It was always a knowledgeable, respectable crowd. You went up there, you spent a few days there because of the fact that it's a holiday resort town, and you can do that, and accommodation isn't too expensive, and whatever else, and you spend a good couple of days up in Blackpool. You're knowledgeable, you sit down, you cheer for your man.
It's not your one night out, it's you go and
the overspilling now of this football fan mentality where you're booing people and you're whistling people to try and put people off. I saw it firsthand in Amsterdam the other week, and that was the first time I'd really sat in a crowd, because that's where me and a couple of the guys from the media decided to sit, and saw people in the vicinity doing it, and you look at them going, why? And they can't give you a reason. It's just the done thing to do now, and I just don't get it. I don't understand it. You just watched an exceptional battle between two players that gave it their absolute all, and yes, right, there's always get the odd pantomime villainy boo as one player's about to mop up occasionally because you want it to go on a bit deeper. But it started a lot earlier than that, and it carried on a lot earlier than that, and it's happened an awful lot this week with, frankly, what feels like malicious intent to force people to miss darts or to put them off. And the sport that we love is being ruined now by people that traditionally aren't big darts fans. I don't want to gatekeep darts. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not saying that the casual fan can absolutely never turn up and watch a darts match. But I do think there needs to be an intervention of some sort with the PDC, with the venues, to try and stamp some of this out. You cannot continue to build this sport as the best party atmosphere in the world, turn up, bring your work Christmas party to Ali Pali, etc., and not have stamped out behavioural issues for the last couple of years. Because initially, when crowds got involved once or twice a year, it was a big story and it's brilliant. Oh, look at this. Oh, but didn't they play a part in this? And he had his home fans on his side and whatever else. But it happens so frequently now, it's an absolute joke, and the players should not have to go through it. It's just wrong.
No, it is wrong. And to be fair, I deliberately didn't mention it as we were talking about the matches, because I don't want to give the idiots the time of day of even talking about it, and the fact that none of us want to see it, and it's just utterly ridiculous, and trying to influence the outcome of the match is not something we want to see. And I just don't, like, surely, yes, okay, maybe you want it to go on a little bit longer, maybe you like one player more than the rest, but surely we all just want to see the best standard of darts, and that's what we go to watch. And I just think it's utterly ridiculous. So I just didn't really want to even give them the time of day of talking about it, in that we had two fantastic matches and they deserve to be talked about as fantastic matches, and not about a bunch of pissed up idiots like booing, which it's just not what it's about. And I just, we saw it at the end. I've never seen a player happier to lose to that 1-4-6 finish from Michael van Gerwen than Nathan Aspinall, who basically he was glad for him that he went and did that and won it, because he didn't deserve what happened before. And he actively shushed the crowd at one point as well, in that leg before, not at the visit where I couldn't see him at the visit where it was really bad, where he missed the darts of the match, but the visit before, they were giving him a little bit at that point, and you could see Nathan in the background just telling him to shut up. And
genuinely, I'm not sure the crowd realise just how often and how awkward that makes the other player feel, that they're allegedly supporting as well, because it just makes them that little bit sheepish, and then they approach the board with guilt in their mind, and it puts extra pressure or less commitment and less attention on the finish that they're going for. I genuinely don't think it has that big an effect sometimes. It just gets stupid, and then we discuss it a little bit longer, and it might long-term alter the effect of the match, but a couple of times it's just ridiculous, and I can't stand it. And I feel like this is a great segment to talk about tomorrow night's matches, because they include Gerwen Price, who's inevitably going to get it as well.
Especially playing in the late game after a later start again.
Yeah. The first game, though, is an all-Dutch quarter-final between Dirk van Dijvenbode and Danny Noppert. And look, I thought the Michael Smith-Dirk game was impossible to call. This one is equally difficult.
Just give me extra legs in this one, please. I want extra legs in this. I want to watch this game all day long. And I hope it lives up to what in my head, it's going to be the game of the tournament so far. And that's putting in there what we've just seen tonight. I think this is going to be brilliant. And yeah, I think extra legs. I think we see extra legs. I think we see Dirk win 17-15.
I think this is a clash of...
I think that's the first prediction of extra legs we've had so far this week.
Look, we call this an awful lot sometimes. We get it with James Wade when we're discussing it. I think Danny Noppert is going to be the same. His performance level is going to stay like that.
Yeah.
And Dirk is going to go like that. And they're going to finish at the same point. And it's just going to be electrifying and buzzing. And it's about how much damage Dirk can do in the legs when he's on, compared to how much damage he can limit against him in the legs where he's off. Because I just expect Danny to be so solid, so contained right now. The fact he did the blind 180, I'm still in shock, because it's so...
That's the thing. We say that his levels just...
For Danny.
We say that his levels are going to stay the same. I mean, actually, we've seen him go on some runs so far of legs at points as well. So, yeah, but I think this is just going to be brilliant, and I cannot wait to see it. So I'm hoping we get an early finish in the cricket so I actually see it.
Yeah, you're off to that tomorrow. I'm off to Blackpool as well, not to watch the darts though. I'm off just on the bit for my friend Stag Do. Yeah, it's what it is.
How is your friend having his stag do in Blackpool and you haven't managed to talk whoever's organising it into getting tickets for the darts?
One, because I'm the best man, so I'm organising it. Two, because he gave us dates at incredibly short notice of when he was available, because he's a teacher and tickets had already long sold out. And three, there's 20 of us. I'm not a teacher.
Sorry. If he's a teacher, he's always going to be available from the middle of July until September.
Yeah, but he only just announced he was getting married in February, after February half term, then told us he wasn't available for for Easter. So it left May half term, which is too short notice because the initial plan was to go to Benidorm, or 2.5 weeks between the breaking up and ending of term July and his wedding on the 1st of August.
Okay, yeah, that's not a lot of time.
No. Not
dangerous. Very dangerous to have a stag do that close to the wedding as well.
He'll be all right. It's soft as anything. Right, my score prediction, by the way, I'm going to back Danny. I just think that consistency is ridiculous. And if Dirk falls off it for a couple of legs, he will find it a lot more difficult to get back on it than Danny, in my opinion. And because of that, I'm going to say Danny wins. I'm going to say he wins 16-12. A couple in the chat room. Malachi's got 16-14 for Noppy. Jeez has got 16-13. Noppy says Noppy all the way. Daniel says what a chance for Dirk and Danny to reach the semis. What a chance for them to reach the final when we discussed the second semi-final as well. That half of the draw has opened up a little bit, I think, without being disrespectful to any of the players involved. But it has just opened a couple of doors for people. Tommy's also got Noppert at 16-12. No one back in Dirk as yet, the man who picked up a Pro Tour win and then went partying the other week and has looked pretty good here this week in Blackpool. But yeah, we've yet to see a prediction in Dirk's favour. Let's move on to the second game. Oh, that was you, yeah. I forget about you sometimes. And it's also good that we've gone opposite, because myself and Dan went the same way for both last night, and we should have been sat here discussing a Peter Wright versus Nathan Aspinall semi-final, and instead it's a Dimitri against Mike Gerwen. So we've done it with a voice who has gone very early on social media telling us that Michael van Gerwen is winning the match play after his performance tonight. Michael will not thank you for that one, Boise, if you are listening back to this at any point, because I know you're not watching live. You silly Brummy. Second match tomorrow night. Gerwin Price against Jose de Sousa, a resurgent Jose de Sousa, who has looked magnificent up on the Winter Garden stage this week. Peak Jose, like top of his powers, Jose. I think that's how good he's been this week.
Yeah.
And it's meant an awful lot to him against the Gerwin Price, who is climbing back to somewhere near his best as well. He's had injury problems. He's struggled to commit to parts of the tour at times and been more selective with his games. And I guess something that is even more intriguing as an undertow to this match as well, Cam, is that if Gerwin Price wins against Jose de Sousa tomorrow, he returns to world number 1.
He does.
That's big.
It's very big. It's very, very big.
He's failed to take any of the 5 opportunities I think it is that he's had since dropping to world number 2 to overtake Peter Wright.
And that becomes 6 tomorrow. Today. As it is now. It's now today. That becomes 6. And
is that like 2 become 1 by the Spice Girls?
Yeah, it's a new one. It's a remix. The reason why is I've been very impressed in spells with Gezi in this tournament. Over the longer game, a burst of 5 legs of his top draw stuff isn't going to be enough to win him the match. I don't think. He's going to have to sustain it for a lot longer. He can't average mid-low 90s and then blast off 110 to bump his average up for 5 legs that then gets him over the line. It won't be enough, I don't think, unless that blast comes right at the end and they've managed to stay level up to that point. I think Jose's playing too well. If Gezi's off it, that blast will only get him back level. It won't put him ahead or put him over the line. So I think Jose is going to be ahead. And I think he wins relatively easily. 16-11.
That's interesting. I think we have a return to world number 1 for Price tomorrow.
Not surprised that you're going for that.
It's, for me, it's all about the match. It's not about the way they're playing on the board at the minute. I think this one is a poker game tomorrow, and Jose is an incredibly introverted character, and Gezi is an incredibly extroverted character. And we've seen the last few weeks that Gezi has actively tried to be that little bit more. He's tried to up his stage presence. We spoke about earlier in the week. I'm not sure if it was with you, with Liam, or with Dan. It definitely can't have been Dan. About his double bicep celebration at one point. That his heart just didn't look like it was in it. But he's actively trying to get back to that and be that guy that shouts and roars and screams, that was so dominant and so feared. And people knew once Gerwin Price started hitting a 180 and giving it a go on, that you were under it in that leg. And he's doing that a lot more. He certainly looks like he feels a lot more comfortable up there. And I don't see how Jose handles that.
I disagree with you on that. I don't think Jose cares. I think he's in his own little world when he's up there. I don't really think anything that Gezi shouts or shows off or peacocks about will really faze him.
No, I think it will. I think Jose's one of the players it can and will affect. Unless he's a massive front runner and he keeps him at arm's length, then I don't see another way of victory for Jose. If it goes tight, I expect Gezi to just produce one of those moments in a really crucial leg. There's still the issue that Jose's counting is terrible, and in a match of this magnitude, one little counting mistake like that could be crucial and critical for him. And just the resurgence of Price at the minute, and the fact that he has just got that larger stage presence than what he's had for the last few months, I think means Gezi wins this one, and I think he wins it 16-11 as well. I think he runs away with it towards the back end. Chat room. Tommy says 16-11 Price. I'm just gone with, as is Maliki, 16-11 However, G's Adventures got D'Souza 16, Gerwen Price 14, in brackets, Go Jose. That's about all we've got time for tonight. I say all we've got time for. Sit here and chat nonsense we can for another 5 minutes, but you lot don't want to hear that. It's not we've not got time for it. I just don't want to do it. So
we've done it for long enough already. It was looking like being a fairly short show. We got through the first 2 games pretty quickly, and we've made it to our usual time.
Then we got clips, then we discussed the crowd, then we took forever to predict these shows, and now it's a 46-minute long show. But we don't want to shortchange. It's been the average length of show for the week. You don't want to wake up tomorrow to a 20-minute quickie. Interpret that how you will. Right, it's time to go now. No more jokes like that at all. It's way too late. I'm done for the week with the Fallout Bar, by the way, folks. I think it'll be Lee Boyce in the hot seat for the next couple of nights, joined by an assortment of Charlie
tomorrow, and then possibly me Saturday.
Possibly Cam. So Cam might be back, but I will not, because I'll be on the said stag do in Blackpool. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the Betfred World Match Play. I'll be back on Monday night in the live lounge with Phil Bars and.
Well done. You remember what it was called today, but you've forgotten who you're on with now. So at some point you might get your mention of the live albums completely right.
It's warm and I'm getting old. Stop it. With the live lounge on Monday night. I got mixed up because the next point is the live league is live right now. So now you've finished watching us, head over there, catch the end of the first session of Group B of Champions Week, back from 9:30 a.m. on our YouTube channel in the morning as well. Henry Deacon is your man in the hot seat with the microphone. Please do hit that like button before you all disappear and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I'm going to whisk this top, or a variation of an online darts piece of attire, with me to Blackpool, because at some point we need to record our 25,000 subscriber giveaway video, and the fact that I'm now there means I'm going to go in and bash some heads together because it hasn't been done as yet. So Phil and Lee, beware wherever you are. Que sera, wherever you may be, we're going to record a video. Terrible. Right, let's just say goodnight, because this is... Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. I won't, but yeah, Fallout Bar will be back tomorrow night after
what a smooth ending.
Finals. Yeah, cheers, Cam. Bye, guys.